What's good, everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Today we've got some awesome information for you guys in the world of the Nintendo Switch. So let's go ahead and get right into it. And we're starting off with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. We've got some digital sales to talk about with Nintendo, and pretty much the reason why we're getting more Fighters Pass characters is because Nintendo is making so much money hand over fist on the digital sales of the Fighters Pass and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate and other games that they really have no choice. Honestly, there's really no choice but for them to do this. And I'll also give you guys a little bit of a bonus because I get asked so much, what is Nintendo going to do for the last Fighters Pass character? So I just figured, hey, let's go in and talk about it again on the channel. So I'll reference all of you guys that ask me this question over and over and over again to this video in terms of who I think is going to be the next Fighters Pass character, or who are some of my picks for that. So let's go ahead and start off with what Nintendo President Shuntaro Furukawa had to say in a recent Q&A investors meeting. So this is talking about digital sales, which are going to include other games, and then we'll also get into the point about Super Smash Bros. Then I'll give my thoughts. So digital sales have continued to grow ever since entering the current fiscal year. One major factor is the increasing number of consumers who opt to purchase the downloadable versions of packaged software. In our view, this is less because of any specific measures on our part and more because consumers themselves appreciate the convenience of purchasing download versions. We also think the fact that the titles released over the summer are popular among consumers who prefer to purchase download versions played a part. These are not the only reasons that digital sales are growing. However, there are three other major factors. First is the sales growth of download-only software. The lineup of indie titles and other games that are not available as packaged software is becoming more robust, and sales of these titles are growing. Second, sales of add-on content have also been growing. Up until the previous fiscal year, the main contributors were add-on content for The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Splatoon 2. But this fiscal year, the Fighters Pass for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate has made a huge contribution. Look at how he said huge contribution in there. Lastly, there is the revenue from Nintendo Switch Online, which started service in September of last year. For the most part, revenue from this service was not included in the same period of the last fiscal year. The contributions from these three elements have grown in a balanced way, leading to the present situation of overall growth in digital sales. We would like to maintain this trend through the holiday season and beyond, but given that many consumers opt to purchase the packaged versions of software during the holiday season, I do not expect the ratio of digital sales for this fiscal year to continue rising. We will continue to appeal the convenience of digital content to consumers and work to promote sales of download-only software titles and add-on content. And this is kind of the digital revolution that I was talking about that I think that Nintendo will even someday succumb to with all digital and not physical sales. But the one thing that you have to remember here with physical and digital and what's going on is that having an option is always the best thing, because Furukawa even alluded to here saying that during the holiday season, if you're buying it for someone else, obviously the physical sales are needed so you can go to the store and get the deals and everything. So Nintendo's still going to do that for a bit, but we do see that digital sales are kind of doing very well. But if you look at what he had to say here, because he always said that Legend of Zelda and Splatoon 2, those were always the big contributing factors to digital sales, but it was Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. It was the Fighters Pass that made a huge contribution. And we talked about Sakurai just a little bit ago saying that so many people have bought the game. We know that Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is the best-selling fighting game of all time, the best-selling fighting franchise of all time, with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate pushing it past other games out there. So it's crazy to see how well this is doing, but also the Fighters Pass. This has been big. This has been big, and I think that Nintendo saw these digital sales. They're making this huge contribution and said there's no way that we can just stop supporting this game with new content. We're making too much money. There's too much money that's being contributed to the Fighters Pass. Just with this one Fighters Pass, they've probably made like $1 billion or something. I'm not exactly sure what the numbers are. I'm not sure if they specified it. I don't think they did, but they've probably made so much of that $24.99, $24.99, $24.99. Even if you get a third of the base of the people to buy the Fighters Pass, for $24.99, that is so much money. That is so much money extra that you are making. It's insane to even think about it. So that's exactly what's going on here. And I think that's the reason why we're getting the next season of Fighters Pass characters, because they just have to. It would be crazy to say, all right, we got 1 year of DLC when they're making this much and momentum is this high and they're selling 15 million plus units, and they have an opportunity to literally be not only the best selling fighting game of all time, because they are that, but really just cement their legacy as the best selling fighting game of all time. It's the same reason why Tom Brady keeps on playing even though he has so many Super Bowl rings, because he's like, hey, I can cement my legacy and pretty much put up a record that nobody is going to be able to break. So I think that's kind of what Sakurai and Nintendo are doing, and of course they're making a ton of money in the process. Now for the last Fighters Pass character, I do think that it's going to be a Resident Evil character, and I think that it's either going to be Leon S. Kennedy, Resident Evil 4 version, or it's going to be Jill Valentine, the old school GameCube remake version of the original Resident Evil. I think it's going to be one of those two. I think it's going to be one of those two. I don't think it's going to be an Echo type of fighter deal, so it's not going to be Leon and you also get like Jill. It's either going to be one of those two, some type of Resident Evil character. That franchise needs to be represented in Super Smash Brothers, and I think Leon would be an awesome pick, or Jill Valentine would be a great pick as well, either or for me. And I'll add on top of that, Nintendo has been promoting the Resident Evil games and even had their own little advert for Resident Evil 5 and 6 coming to the Nintendo Switch that they did. So I just think that Resident Evil is going to get in some way, shape, or form. Nintendo and Capcom have a pretty good relationship there. So what do you guys think about all the different digital sales here when it comes down to it? Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, who the last character in the DLC 5 Fighters Pack is going to be? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, and moving on to the final topic here, guys, we're going to be discussing Pokemon Sword and Shield, the sales. It seems like things aren't even going to break a sweat, because I've been looking and researching a little bit when it comes to the Amazon sales data. I've also got some ears to the ground when it comes to in-store shipments and kind of what pre-order numbers are and everything. And will this big controversy with Pokemon affect the sales of the game with the national decks and the graphics and everything going on here? And conventional wisdom thinks, yeah, of course, you're seeing people saying and complaining about a game, that's obviously going to affect it. But if you look at everything when it comes to what some of the people are saying, the pre-order numbers, when it comes to the Amazon sales, it seems like this game might be the strongest selling Pokemon game to start out in a long time, because on Amazon, even when we had other big games like Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and we also had games like Death Stranding, Luigi's Mansion, there's been so many games that have came out. Pokemon Sword and Shield not only has been rising on the charts, but it's pretty much been the #1 and the #2 game on Amazon for the past week or so. It's getting crazy, and of course, closer to release, you get more and more people buying, but you would think that a game like Death Stranding on an install base of 100 million, and of course US Amazon sales, that doesn't include everybody, but the biggest install base of consoles within this generation and up is the PlayStation 4 here in the US. Pokemon Sword and Shield didn't even give up that spot when that game came out, and it's continued to do well. More and more people are pre-ordering the game or picking up their game. You're looking at sales that I've been hearing about for Target with that Steelbook special edition. People are going there and picking it up. Best Buy has a special coin if you pre-order it there, so you can get that as well. So it's pretty interesting. It's going to be pretty interesting to see how it does. Now, one thing that I can kind of compare this to before, and I've talked about, is the controversy with Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. People were really complaining and angry and upset about that game as well, and people felt that, oh yeah, that's really going to dramatically impact sales. This one's not going to do anything. Like, it's only going to sell maybe like a couple million or something. Nope, 11 million units plus, and it's still going. Heck, just a few weeks ago, I think I saw Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. It was discounted to $29.99, and it was up in like the top 5 for Amazon sales and everything. So it's crazy to see, but at the same time, like, I did expect this game to do really well. People have been putting out predictions in terms of how much we can see the game sell within the first month or by the end of the fiscal year in March, and I do think that the game is going to do at least I would say 13 to 15 million within the first month and a half. And then at the fiscal year ending, maybe it's at like 16 million or so. I think it's going to be quite a bit. We'll have to see how it does in the long term though, because of all the complaints and consumers being angry and all that. That can affect sales maybe at the tail end. But when it comes to the beginning and the hype for the games in terms of what people are buying, it doesn't seem like it's going to flinch too much with Pokemon Sword and Shield. So we'll have to wait and see. But overall, I do think that it's going to be pretty good. And whatever they do make off this, even if it's less, it's going to be more than enough to cover what these games were probably cost in production and everything. So more than enough to cover it, and more to kind of get going and say, okay, well, what can we do for the next game? How can we make this better? We need to make sure that we address this, this, and this. So I'm thinking that that's going to happen just like we saw it with the Nintendo 3DS from Pokemon X and Y to Pokemon Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, the graphics and kind of what they're doing there. And then Sun and Moon was just completely different when it comes to graphics from X and Y to Sun and Moon. They really did improve from there. So I think we're going to see something similar to that with Pokemon Sword and Shield and Pokemon games that are released afterwards. So what are you guys' thoughts when it comes to all the different topics that we discussed here? I'd love to hear what you guys have to say in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Go ahead and check out the links in the description below. We got Facebook and Twitter. Go ahead and give us a like and a follow on our social media. Hit that like button if you did like this video. Let me know you guys want more content like this going forward in the future. And subscribe to PlayerEssence for latest RPG, Japanese, and Nintendo gaming news. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.